Morning, everyone. This morning we are here in Sam Lawrence Park, and I'm with Julie. Fazooli, is that how you like your last name said? Yeah. And we've been kind of dancing around with the rain today, and it's stopped now, so we're taking a chance on this. So thanks so much for joining us this morning, Julie.
No problem.
I'd like to start off, as usual, just tell us about your origin story, how you got into being a creative.
My origin story. Well, I've always kind of come from kind of a creative family, and my parents were always like super adamant about learning about art history. And I've traveled a lot as a kid because I'm originally from France. My father's from Italy. So my whole family lives over there, and I've been really lucky. So every other year when I was growing up, we'd spend all summer, like 2.5 months, over there with my family so that we would get to know our culture and stuff. And that involved a lot of going to museums and seeing what's going on with the cultures over there and really learning about so many different cultural differences in Europe, because Europe is so easy to drive to different countries and stuff. So we were really lucky. So yeah, like I've been drawing since I was a kid, and I always wanted to be a cartoonist when I was younger. And when I was about 16, I started going to Sheridan in their summer programs to do comic book drawing, and then I was doing the advanced program for animation. This was before computer animation. So that was a lot of fun, drawing the same thing over and over again for 7 hours a day. And then I got really kind of bored with that. So I dropped out. And then I ended up going into film school because I felt that because I really loved photography as well. And writing. So it was kind of the culmination of all of the creative things that I liked all at once. And I could do sound, and I could play with music, and I could play with all kinds of things that I was already into. So it kind of went from there. And then I did like 15 years of television and film. And one day I got laid off when I was working at CTV and sports broadcasting. And I was already feeling really burnt out, and I had lost my creative edge because I was like in this like bureaucratic kind of like corporate atmosphere for too long, and I had just completely gone dead, and I was working like 16-hour days, so I had no time for hobbies. And then so when I got laid off, I did second career. I took graphic design at Sheridan, or at Mohawk, sorry. And all of a sudden I started drawing again, and just on the computer, and started learning how to use the computer to like create really cool art and stuff. And mostly like vector drawings and stuff. But it really got me to kickstart again, like my creative vibe. And then I went through a really horrible divorce. And that was what was the catalyst for me to start actually sitting down and drawing with a pencil again. And I started like a little art night with my friends at my house instead of going to the bars, because we were going to the bars too much, just to like have a night that we don't go there. And so at my house, we would just like have snacks, and we would just work on our own projects and just chat. And it became really therapeutic for a lot of us. Yeah. And it started growing. And then people started bringing dates to the thing. We called it Art Attack. And then like it started growing. And then we had like strangers start to join us and become friends. And it really became like a vibe. And then basically like I suddenly found my voice one day. I did this one really quick watercolor drawing in like an hour and a half of Tank Girl, my favorite comic book character. And I posted it online, and everybody freaked out, and they were like, oh my God, you should sell this. So it was really close to Supercrawl that year. I had done a couple of other ones. I felt like I had kind of found my voice there. So I did a few more in that same style. And then I had 6 prints and a blanket at Supercrawl like 2014 in a parking lot. And all of a sudden, that's when it just started for me, I guess, like as a professional artist. Like I think I made like $60 in one day, and I was like, holy crap, like people are buying this stuff? Like, this is nuts. And then I started making more of them, and it became more and more and more. And then I started attending art crawl all the time, and then selling, like people were asking me to be a vendor at places. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I'm doing a gallery show, and then with like a group show with other people and stuff. And then it starts growing and growing. And now I've got so many things up my sleeve that I can barely like, pay attention to all of them. But it's great. Like I got involved with the community. I managed to like find myself again. And it really started, I don't know, like I just kind of came into my own again. And like now I just can't put it down. I feel like over the pandemic, I kind of slowed down because I was going too fast. But now I'm starting to feel the vibe coming back. And it's like, okay, like I feel motivated. There's things going on again. I kind of feel like I need to create new work. I've taken enough of a break so that, you know, I can kind of get back to it and not be so exhausted, and like put more energy into it instead of being kind of spread too thin. So yeah, I guess in a nutshell, that's basically the origin story, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, and it was really art crawl that helped me like gain the community, because that's how I met everybody, is just being on the street, talking to everybody. It got me to come out of my shell, because I became really introverted after during my marriage and stuff, because I think I was overpowered by my ex-husband. And so yeah, I kind of like really feel free and happy and like myself again. And I owe it all to like the therapeutic value of art. Like definitely. It has definitely changed my life again.
Is there, of all the things that you've done over the years, is there something that is your absolute favorite that you've done?
There's a few things, one of which wasn't necessarily physical art. I used to work for Deluxe Labs, which is a Hollywood company that develops film for like the 35 millimeter film for the film industry. And I got to work on some of the greatest movies of all time. So within a 3.5 year span that I was working there. So I got to work on like Lord of the Rings, Napoleon Dynamite, Dogtown and Z-Boys, Team America, like Brokeback Mountain, all kinds of stuff that was just like absolutely like Spider-Man 1 and 2, like amazing Hollywood blockbusters that I could have never put my hands on if I didn't have that opportunity. And I was just working in a darkroom, but I was also working in neg assembly, so it was really cool to see everything get actually cut up and then spliced together like they did in the old days and stuff, and then reprinted. And just the process itself taught me so much about filmmaking. It was awesome. And the people I worked with were just a family. Like outside of that, for like art, I think like working with the Art Gallery of Hamilton, doing workshops has been really amazing and really fulfilling, especially when I get to work with at-risk youth. I do that also with the Burlington Public Library. And then what else has been really rewarding? Oh, running the punk rock flea market, bringing the whole community together has been like amazing. I was really lucky that I was given the opportunity to take that on, because I didn't start it, but I took it over. I was given the chance to take it over for Hamilton, and then it started growing and growing and growing, and now we have chapters all over Canada, which is really cool.
Yeah, so that kind of leads us into my next question. If you were to give advice to other artists, especially emerging artists of all ages, what things would you advise them to focus on?
You know what? It's funny because I get asked that a lot, and my answer is kind of this, like different every time, because I'm always asked at different parts of my life. So I think at this point, I would say, and this is always the one thing that I always say, don't invest too much money in things that you're not going to use, because I have probably about $300 worth of acrylics and oil paints just sitting in a bin that I only used like a few times, because I realized I'm just not into painting right now. And you go through phases, right? So sometimes you're really into something, and then you spend so much money on the equipment and the you know, like all the supplies, and then it's like you do it for like 3 months, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, I'm just going to switch over. Finding your voice takes a lot of trial and error. So like start small, go to the dollar store. Don't, you know, spend money on high quality stuff until you figure out what you actually are good at, because we're not all good at everything. Like, I'm not good at sculpture. I realized that real quick. Like, I'm really glad that like I took classes at DVSA for a hobby and realized that. And I'm like, it's fine when it's like you can walk away from all of that stuff and realize it's like that was fun, but like we're not all meant to be good at everything. So like, don't spend too much money on things right away. Like, you can spend time on things, but like, don't spend money on things. Also, when you're starting a business, don't spend more money than you're going to make. I learned that really, really fast, the hard way, and like badly. Like, I put myself in debt pretty hard, like right away, because I started buying like tables for shows, and like, you know, I was buying like a sign and like banners and like business cards and all this stuff. And I wasn't making the money as fast as I was spending it. Just spend the money as you're making it. Grow as you're making it. And like, find that niche where you can know your worth. Don't undersell yourself. That's the other thing, is don't undersell yourself, so that you are making a profit, so you are making money. And that's one thing that I'm really bad at, is like, I always cut people deals, and I really, at this point in my life, I really shouldn't. And I should start telling people like, no, after this much time, this is what I'm worth. You have a talent that no one has. You have to like bank on that somehow. And if you're not making a lot of money elsewhere, and this is your number one thing, make that money. Like, start to like understand what you're worth. I'm just starting to realize this after 10 years of being a graphic artist. It's like, oh, I can charge this much. And to keep practicing, or else you're going to lose that. I feel like over the pandemic, when I stopped drawing, it was like harder to motivate myself. It's not that it was harder to draw. It's harder to motivate myself to sit down for that amount of time and like focus. You know what I mean? It's kind of a meditative practice. So if you don't do it every day, even for 5 minutes a day, you kind of start losing your train of thought and stuff like that.
So one of the questions that I introduced for season 2 is, we've been talking a little bit about artist trends and the good and the bad and the ugly. Is that something that you're conscious of, looking at trends that are going on? Does that even play into the work that you do?
For me, like, I actually consciously don't. I block out advertising. I don't have cable. I don't really watch a lot of TV, except for things that I really like kind of zero in on. I try and limit what the mainstream pushes at me on purpose, because I don't want to be influenced by the world around me that doesn't affect me. So I only really want to bring in influences that I'm into. So that way I'm more saturated with the stuff that's really going to help motivate me to do what I want to do. So I tend to block out a lot of what everybody else is doing, because I've always kind of gone against the grain, and I've always kind of hated being like everyone else, like just hated the idea of being like everyone else. I'm not like everyone else. I've always been super tiny. I've always been kind of weird and a little bit different. So I've always just kind of pushed against the mainstream. So as a graphic designer, I like to look at trends for my clients, because they want something that's fitting into what's going on in modern society, and like the trendy stuff that's going on right now is going to catch people's attention. Yeah, for advertising sake, stuff like that, to get the general population's attention, yeah, you're going to want to, you know, pay attention to certain trends. But for myself, when I'm doing art for myself, I tend to block everything out.
So one of the questions that I've talked to with everybody from season 1 and season 2, and I think it's a really great question, is where do you see yourself, or where would you like to see yourself in 10 years from now?
Ooh, that's a good question. I kind of live like a gypsy for the past 10 years. So it's hard to say, because over the past year and a half, over the pandemic, I didn't expect to get back into television production. And now I'm producing and directing a lot of really amazing creative stuff out of the cotton factory. And I really didn't expect that. And I really still want to do graphics, but at the same time, I'm starting to get bored with doing graphics for clients because I've been doing that for 10 years. And I'm kind of happy to like record bands and musicians that are up and coming who are just stars waiting to happen. It's just invigorating to see so much talent in front of me and help them elevate their work and help them elevate their production values to get out there and be what they are supposed to be, and like help them attain their goals. So I feel like I've always kind of been that person that's more of a liaison between artists to be able to grow their work. I've always been one of those people that's been a leader and a teacher, and like I've just always gravitated towards not just helping myself, but like wanting to create environments for other people to be motivated and do, like, I don't want to do this by myself. Like I want to create a society around me that's also super stoked and like wanting to do stuff, because I like, it's fun to be in a room full of people doing their own projects and stuff. So I kind of want to keep going with that. So if that means me focusing more on television going forward, that's what it's going to do. But I still want to do art. Graphic design might actually like shrink on me. It might not. It might be rolled into the TV stuff. I might start doing graphics for the TV stuff. So, and that's what I'm seeing now. It's like I'm creating a logo for like a real estate agent who needs videos. So we're doing motion graphics for her. So it's like, okay, so it's just evolving in different ways, and I'm kind of going back and forth and doing stuff. I would love to animate my humanimals, and but not myself. Like find an animator who wants to take the designs and animate them for me, and then I can write the stories. And I want to write more. I think I want to start writing more. I want to get back into writing. That's one thing that I've been doing since I was a kid that comes naturally to me without thinking. And I've always been like an incredible writer, which I always thought, I don't know, like I wasn't going to make any money off of it. But a lot of the stuff that I've been writing again lately, a lot of people are like, you really gotta pull through with this and finish it and try and get a book deal or something, or try and get a screenplay written. Because it is good, and like I feel like I need to start I stop being so hard on myself and just go, like just push it and do things to see where it goes. And like I think in 10 years, like if I could just have, and I said this 10 years ago and it's starting to happen now, I've always wanted to have like this creative collective of people under one roof where we can all help each other. And we all do the jobs that we want to do. And then if you don't want to do a certain thing, somebody else will take that job because they want to do it. So we can all work together to create and elevate each other. And like all of us do something together. Like I just want to, I'm a very community oriented person. I'm not a singular, like I don't, as much of a lone wolf as I am, I'm kind of a floater. I want to be a part of like several communities at once. And I really love bringing people together, and I think it's more fun to do stuff together. So I kind of really want to continue growing a community.
So Julie, I have to say it's been an absolute pleasure to hang out with you today in the sun and the rain and the sun and the rain.
Yeah.
And talk about art and graphics and all that cool stuff. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. This has been like always amazing, and like I don't know, I really love that. I don't know, I never really get to talk about this kind of stuff very often. So it's kind of nice to like get yourself back in perspective too, to be able to like, where am I at? Where have I come from? And it really helps you to stay motivated as well. So thank you, because this helps me out as well. Yeah. Thank you.